Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Life School podcast. This is your host, Frances Vidakovic, and on this podcast, I'll be sharing with you the most valuable strategies to live your one wildly beautiful and most precious life. Because this is it, my friend. In case you haven't guessed, when it comes to life, there's no rewind or pause button that exists. They say that the way that you spend your days is the way that you spend your life. So my one and only goal here is to help you stop wasting your time, stop holding yourself back in life, stop experiencing non-stop negative mind chatter, stop just dreaming without doing, and start living life fearlessly instead, with more purpose, focus, and intention. I sincerely want you to live life in a way that when you come to the end of it, you know deep down in your heart that you 100% gave it your all, flaws and all. This podcast is not about doing life perfectly. Instead, it is about experiencing and living life with more clarity and courage and truly appreciating this precious adventure that we are so blessed to be on. So if you're with me here today, it's time to stop spinning in circles, get off the hamster wheel for good, put your hands back on the steering wheel of your life, and finally start living life in a way that you won't later regret. With that being said, let's dive on in. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Inspiring Life School podcast. I'm your host, Frances Vidakovic, and today's show is all about a follow-up chat to my previous episode where I shared with you the 3 biggest mistakes that I've made in my business so far. Now, I don't often chat about business here on this podcast, so I'm really excited to share with you the flip side of this conversation, or more importantly, the 3 best lessons that I've learned in my business over the last 5 years. So first, just a quick recap. So my 3 biggest mistakes that I made, which I thankfully recovered from, were mistake number 1, not sticking to one thing. Mistake number 2, actively avoiding selling. And mistake number 3, constantly looking sideways. And now for the good stuff. Like if you've been wondering what are the most important and best lessons that I've garnered and learned over the last 5 years, it's these 3 things. So my favorite and best lesson number 1, the importance of showing up consistently, experimenting, and breaking a few rules. So I think that I discovered really early on that I actually naturally question all the advice that was given to me by so-called business experts. So whenever someone, like when I first started, would say, well, this is what you need to do. You need to post 1 blog post every single week and do it on this one particular day. I'd be like, well, why? Like, why do I have to do that? Why can't I do more? Why does it have to be a set day? I would question everything. And I would wonder, like I would experiment. What would happen if I decided to post twice a week? What would happen if I decided to post 3 times a week or 4, which is exactly what I ended up doing for the first 18 months of my business. I was consistently showing up and sharing 20 new articles on my website. And I really think that that was 100% what was responsible to my rapid growth in that first year, because I was willing to do things differently. And the more I wrote, the better I got at writing. And when I took the time to actually learn how to do SEO, like search engine optimization, and apply those optimization strategies to my blog posts, like I just had more traffic coming in organically and via, lots of different platforms such as Pinterest. But I was always willing to do my own thing, and it always worked in my favor. And in some cases, I was getting a lot more traction than those so-called teachers that were trying to teach me the right way to do things. But I always wondered, is that really the right way for me? And honestly, the right way is always whatever you feel like is working for you. And so I mentioned Pinterest. So that was another platform that I was willing to experiment like a mad scientist. So I think I still must currently get around 1.2 million monthly views from Pinterest. And that's spending next to 0 time on that platform. But back in the heyday, when I was actively focused on nurturing and growing a following there, so I think I have more than 20,000 followers there, my reach used to be something like 4 million plus monthly views every single month. And that definitely did not happen from me following the so-called rules. I swear, every time someone would say to me, oh, you should do this, this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is how much you're supposed to be pinning, I just would do the opposite or experiment by doubling or tripling my output or just doing completely different random strategies just to see what would happen. I thought of myself as an experimenter, someone with almost like a detective hat on. I was just willing to try things out to see what would work and what didn't work. And honestly, like I said before, this willingness to break the rules and try new things and experiment definitely worked in my favor. And I remember a few years ago that there were some really big names, I won't mention them, but they were selling some very expensive Pinterest courses. And it used to sort of annoy me because I knew that they must be recommending really basic strategies, because I was getting double, triple, quadruple, probably 10 times the amount of traffic that they were. So I decided to create my own course. It was a Pinterest is Queen, and I think I sold it for $37. And I wanted to share with everyone the simple, different way that I was doing it. I had my own strategy completely different from everyone else. So in a nutshell, I think it's really important to be willing to break some rules. Don't follow someone blindly. What works for one person is not necessarily going to work for someone else, nor will it work to your strengths. So I want you to begin to trust your instincts and do what you feel called to do. Look at me here with this podcast. People recommend posting one episode a week on the same day every week. And I record whenever I feel compelled to record. And guess what? That works well for me. Now, obviously consistency is the key. You need to be regularly showing up in much the same way. If you had a shop in a shopping center, you wouldn't leave your shop abandoned for months and weeks on end. Okay. And that's not to say that you can't ever go on holidays, but of course, you'd make sure in advance that there'd be something set up to help you take care of the emails. Maybe you'd automate your emails, your blog posts, your social media posts throughout your absence. Okay. But you're not just going to abandon everyone, including your audience, for that length of time. And I know that some of my best months in my business were when I was away 7 weeks in Europe, because everything was automated. I had all my systems set up to work well while I was away. And I promise you, when you show up with faith and trust and confidence in yourself, this is when amazing things start to happen, as opposed to constantly feeling doubt and fear that you're somehow doing things wrong because someone says do this. I will always tell you, experiment, do things your own way, try things out and see what works best for you. Because the truth is, the right way to run your business is whichever way you feel compelled to do. And when you show up eager to provide value in the way that you best can, and when you genuinely want to serve and connect with your audience, and you do so on a consistent basis, that is when the amazing things begin to happen. Which brings me to my best lesson number 2. Do things before you feel ready. So I swear, if I waited until I felt ready, I'd still be waiting. I'd still be dreaming about creating my first course. I'd still be dreaming about creating this podcast. But I've always known the value of taking a leap before you feel ready and trusting that you're going to discover your wings on the way down. Or even if you don't discover them and they don't grow and you fall flat on the ground, that's okay. There's nothing to worry about, because you just pick yourself back up and start again. So I've never actually been scared of doing things before I feel ready, even though I often feel scared the entire way through the process. And it's because I've always believed that everything that you want is on the other side of fear. That's a really famous quote, and I've just always kept it in the forefront of my mind. Everything I want is on the other side of fear. And fear is often just a signal of exactly what you need to be doing next, rather than avoiding it. So I never felt ready or professional enough to start creating courses, but I did it anyway, and I've improved over the years. And I was as nervous as can be when it came to starting this podcast 3 years ago. I mean, if you go back and listen to the early episodes of this podcast, I still cringe, even though the content is great. And it's because the way that you get better at anything is by actually taking action. Okay, that's probably why I sounded like a robot or really unnatural when I first started the podcast, and I've improved by practice. Okay, I wasn't ever gonna if I was sitting there waiting until I was a professional speaker, I would have never started my podcast. And I mean, imagine when it comes to the analogy of driving a car, imagine that you said to yourself, well, I'm not going to start to drive. I'm not going to learn how to drive until I'm a really expert driver. What would happen then? You'd never get in the car. Okay, because you're supposed to be really crappy and bad in the beginning. You're supposed to be nervous, and you're supposed to drive like a little slow poke, and then you get better with time and practice. Hey my friend, I just wanted to pop in and let you know that I've just created for you a super special thank you gift just for listening to this podcast. So this collection includes my Do Something ebook, the No BS guide for anyone who needs to stop wasting their time today. There's also my Who Before How roadmap that pinpoints exactly who you need to become before you can even begin to achieve your goals. And there's also my How to Be a Great Mum guide without feeling like a maid or a robot, my perfect plan for me time every day, and finally my ultimate affirmation collection that includes over 100 pages of my best curated affirmations just for you. So to claim your free thank you gift, simply go to inspiringmumlife.com/thank you. That's inspiringmumlife.com/thank you. And you can sign up and receive instant access to all 5 gifts inside this collection. Feel free to press pause and do it now, because I'm going to be here waiting for you. And this is just another way of me letting you know just how much I appreciate your support. And that's it for now. Let's jump back into the show. So all of the courses that I've created, all the podcast episodes that I've recorded, all the content that I've ever written were done before I felt ready to do it. But I did it anyway. And only by taking action when I necessarily didn't feel ready. That is how I've improved over the years. And I want to be like the first to put up my hand and say that I'm forever going to be learning new things about myself, about my life, about my kids, about my business, about my relationship, because that is an attitude that I've chosen to embrace, like be open to learning. And when you're open to learning, then you're open to doing new things in a different way. You're open to change, you're open to being patient, you're open to pivoting, you're open to just taking action and knowing that you're going to find a way to land on your feet somehow. And even if you don't land on your feet and you land on your back, then you get back up. You have your own back, you believe in yourself, you know that you can do it. And I want you to believe in your mission and trust that you will eventually get to your goal if you never ever give up. The only way that you don't get to that finish line is if you stop running or you stop walking towards it. But if you keep on going, however many times you stumble, you will get there in the end, okay? Which brings me to the third and final lesson, the best lesson that I've learned over the years. It's the importance of making quick decisions. So this is definitely one of my strengths, okay, my ability to make quick decisions. And I've just decided I'm going to make quick decisions. And I often speak about how productive I am and how I do things really quickly, efficiently, and effectively in a short period of time. But it's because I decided that I don't want to take forever just to make one simple decision. In that first year of business, when I was writing 20 articles every month, I promise you, I didn't sit there and like procrastinate about photos should I choose for this blog post. Like I remember people used to say, oh, it takes them 4 to 5 hours to publish one new post. And I'd be seriously confused. Like, really? Like, all you need to do is set a timer and write, okay, no more than an hour. And then you choose a photo, like you go scroll through some images, choose what looks best, and then select it, insert it into the post and move on. Same goes for whenever I was creating pins for Pinterest in the past. Like people will talk about how long it took them to do one little pin. And there I was like just quickly moving on, like create, move on, make quick decisions. And that's how I was able to grow my following to like over 20,000 followers there, because I just created quickly, decided it was good enough, and I would move on to my next task. I wasn't sitting there umming and ahhing about the fact that I wasn't creating perfect things. Okay, there's no such thing as perfection. I haven't wasted ever a minute of my time, my precious time, expecting perfection from myself. Now, of course, I have high standards and I aim to produce great work, but I just always decide, okay, I'm going to do the best that I can with the tools and resources that I currently have at my disposal, and then I will move on. And I've always been really good at like promptly actioning my ideas. So whenever I've had like a strong calling to create a course, I don't ignore it. I go ahead and create it. Okay. If I feel compelled to do it, whenever I felt compelled to record a podcast episode, if I've had an idea, like I go ahead and I record it. I just decided this is the best right move for me to take. And I just decide that this is true. I mean, this is how you know you're making the right decisions for yourself in your business, is that you decide they are the right decisions. And of course, like you are going to experience failures along the way and you're going to do things that just don't work, but big deal. Like, so what? You just move on. This is part of the experience of being a business owner. You fail forward, my friend. You get comfortable with the idea of experiencing discomfort. You pick yourself back up every single time that you fall and pick yourself back up quickly, and just expect that there, of course, are going to be constantly obstacles and hurdles on your path, because you're a human having a human experience. And the same is true in your business. But I want you to know that you are strong and smart enough to cope with every single thing that comes your way. And those really are my best 3 lessons that I've taken to heart over the last 5 years, and they've served me really well. So just to recap, lesson number 1 is show up consistently, experiment, and break a few rules. Lesson number 2 is do things before you feel ready. And lesson number 3, learn how to make quick decisions. And if I had to add anything, I'd say like trust your gut. Do not ignore your great ideas. Do not ignore your calling, and just be really willing to go out there and share your message, provide value to others, and follow your heart when it comes to growing your business, and put some more trust in yourself as opposed to always trusting others. I really do feel like you know what is best for you. And so work to your strengths, my friend. So that's it for today's episode. I hope that you've enjoyed these last 2 episodes where I've been chatting to you about business. And if you want me to record more episodes on business specifically, just let me know, because I absolutely love chatting and coaching on this topic. And I'm pretty open and generous when it comes to teaching my specific business strategies, which is really like working to my strengths and working to your strengths. I am an open book when it comes to this stuff. So as always, you know, I love and appreciate you so much. If you're looking for more business support, please know that I've created so many amazing courses to help you fast track your success, and you can find them all at inspiringlifeschool.com. go to the courses tab and then scroll down until you find the business section. And that's it, my friend. Until next time, much love, and know that I am always here for you to support you. Until then, take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Inspiring Life School podcast. I really appreciate you allowing me to be a part of your life. If you'd love to stay in touch, please know that you can always find me on Instagram at Vidakovic, or you can visit my website, inspiringmumlife.com, where you can sign up and receive so many amazing freebies that I've created just for you to help you implement all my teachings into practice. There you'll also find all my online courses, resources and programs that I've created to help you up-level your life in seriously the simplest way possible, so that you can ultimately create for yourself a life that feels simpler, lighter, and allows you to show up in a way that you love as your best and most authentic version of yourself. Now remember, this podcast is all about not just dreaming but also doing, because to create true sustainable change in your life, you need to be willing to do things differently. And that's what I'm here to support you to do every single step along the way, so that you too can begin to live your one wild and precious life with less stress, less overwhelm, less drama, and instead with zero regrets. Finally, if this podcast resonates with you at all and you appreciate the content, I would absolutely love for you to show your support by leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts. I'm on a mission to help more people wake up to the preciousness of life and to help them live their days with more intention and purpose, and your review will help make this goal of mine possible. Well, once again, thank you so much. I have loved spending this time with you, and I look forward to connecting with you again. I am Vidakovic, and you have been listening to the Inspiring Life School podcast.